Rhaenyra Targaryen will soon be the one sitting on the Iron Throne and taking all the decisions, but her reign is not expected to last long. The issue of what will happen to Rhaenyra Targaryen, who is arguably the show's major character, in the future looms large as Season 1 of House of the Dragon comes to a close. The majority of the first season of the program has been devoted to Rhaenyra's life in the years preceding the Dance of Dragons, a Targaryen civil war for the Iron Throne that serves as its dramatic high point. Curiously, only one chapter of George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood served as the foundation for the whole first season, with the majority of the Dance of Dragons and Rhaenyra's future being adapted for the second half of the show. As a result, her potential future can be seen clearly. Even though it is the penultimate episode of the first season of House of the Dragon, Episode 9 is more focused on setting up the future than it is on actually concluding the story. This chapter is primarily about putting the finishing touches on the Dance of the Dragons, particularly by identifying the members of the two warring factions, Alicent and Aegon's Greens and Rhaenyra's Blacks. In light of this, Episode 10 of Season 1 of House of the Dragon has a number of significant information that will become even more crucial in upcoming fights. Given everything seen in the House of the Dragon Episode 10 trailer, many viewers will be interested to learn what happens to Rhaenyra in the upcoming seasons, since Season 1 ends just as the Dance of the Dragons begins in earnest. There will be a lot of twists and turns because the showrunners have said that 4 seasons will probably be required to fully narrating the story of House of the Dragon. This means that they will likely start in Season 2. The more pressing concerns, however, concern Rhaenyra, and Fire and Blood provides the answers to whether she takes the throne, who triumphs in the Dance of the Dragons, and how Rhaenyra Targaryen dies. Here is what will ultimately happen to Rhaenyra in House of the Dragon. With the hint that Rhaenyra Targaryen, played by Emma Darcy, would be ascending to the Iron Throne with the aid of her husband Prince Daemon, Matt Smith, and her children, the episode's title alone seemed to be a major spoiler. However, Rhaenyra was only installed as the Black Queen in the episode by donning her father's crown. In George R.R. Martin's book, Fire and Blood, Rhaenyra does actually ascend to the Iron Throne and rule the Seven Kingdoms, but her reign is brief. Nothing about what will be included in the final cut is actually definite, given how much House of the Dragon has deviated from the original material. She is referred to as the half-year queen in the novel because the Greens, who had staged a revolution and installed Aegon II, Tom Glencarny, as king soon after Viserys, Paddy Considine, passed away, gave her the kingdom for 6 months. Jacaerys Velaryon, Harry Collett, and Lucerys Velaryon, 2 of Rhaenyra's sons, contributed to her success, Elliot Griholt. Jace promised his parents he and his sibling would do whatever it takes in the finale. In Fire and Blood, Luke loses his life during a battle with Aemond, illustrating the high cost of war. Ewan Mitchell. It's interesting how differently the show handled the Aemond and Luke moment, portraying the entire scene as more of an accident. However, Rhaenyra holds the crown, making the head that wears it weighty. There was no means to teleport the Iron Throne, according to the text. Until she occupied her father's place, Queen Rhaenyra would not rest. The throne room's torches were lit, and the queen descended the iron steps to take her place where King Viserys, the Old King, Maegor and Ines, and Aegon the Dragon had before sat. The men and women of the Red Keep were summoned to the Iron Throne to swear loyalty to Rhaenyra, who was still wearing her armor. The queen is claimed to have eventually rose from her seat to rest once Prince Daemon arrived to lead her to her apartments, after the ceremony reportedly continued through the night and into dawn. Deep cuts from the Iron Throne were found on the queen's wrists and legs, which adds a twist to the story. In actuality, the book states, the Iron Throne had spurned her, and her days upon it would be few. Drops of blood dripped to the floor as she went past, and wise men glanced at one another, though no one dared to speak the truth out loud. Rhaenyra's victory did not, however, put an end to the Dance of the Dragon. The queen was later driven from the throne as a result of a lack of kingdom wealth and a change in public opinion against her among the common people. Rhaenyra taxed the populace severely in order to fill her coffers, earning her the nickname King Maegor with teats from the ordinary people. As she tried to kill anybody who was betraying her, Rhaenyra also became more and more anxious about betrayers all around her, placing more heads on spikes on the castle walls. In King's Landing, there were riots caused by the rising unrest that resulted in more fatalities and forced Rhaenyra to leave the city. As Rhaenyra sought comfort and security, she was left in a nearly destitute and fugitive position. She eventually sold her crown to get a ship back to Dragonstone. She was greeted at Dragonstone by her half-brother and mortal adversary Aegon II, who fed her to his dragon Sunfire as her son Aegon III watched in terror. Sadly, she had been deceived. The Greens won this round of the Dance of the Dragons, although Aegon II didn't immediately take the throne. Before Westeros saw stability and peace once more deaths and violence would occur. Similar to Game of Thrones before it, the primary focus of the struggle in House of the Dragon revolves around who will hold the Iron Throne. Aegon II and Rhaenyra each have their own claims, which leads to the Dance of Dragons and the beginning of the end for House Targaryen. If Rhaenyra ever occupies the Iron Throne, this naturally leads to one of the more often asked questions about her future. Yes, though only briefly, is the response. After the passing of Rhaenyra's firstborn son, Jacaerys, Rhaenyra, Daemon, and Corlys Velaryon attack King's Landing, approximately 130 AC, a year after the Dance of Dragons starts. Rhaenyra took the Iron Throne after a brief conflict that lasted about a day or so, because the majority of the Greens' forces were attacking Harrenhal. While much transpired in the interim, Rhaenyra's reign as monarch of the Seven Kingdoms lasted only about 6 months before the populace turned against her. With little to no money, Rhaenyra eventually quits King's Landing, which is depicted much differently in House of the Dragon than it is in Game of Thrones. She must barter her way back to Dragonstone aboard a merchant ship from Braavos. As far as we know from House of the Dragon, Rhaenyra Targaryen and her family did not exactly want this kind of life on the Iron Throne. It wouldn't be unreasonable to think Rhaenyra triumphs in the Dance of the Dragons, given how she ends up ruling the Seven Kingdoms during this time span. Who ultimately prevails is, however, a considerably more nuanced question. The Dance of the Dragons lasts between 129 and 131 AC, or around 2 years, and during that time, both sides suffer greatly. The Dance of Dragons witnesses a significant loss of life on both sides, as evidenced by the deaths of Otto Hightower, Rhaenyra's 3 children with Laenor Velaryon, or Harwin Strong, Aemond and Helaena Targaryen, etc. At some point, both the key contenders for the Iron Throne, Rhaenyra and Aegon II, are killed. The Iron Throne passed to Aegon III, Rhaenyra's firstborn child with Daemon Targaryen, because Aegon had no heirs. In this way, even if she is not present, it could be said that Rhaenyra ultimately triumphs in the Dance of the Dragons because her family continues the Targaryen dynasty. Sadly, long after her brief reign on the Iron Throne, Rhaenyra passes away too soon. She was deceived by a friend of hers, Sir Alfred Broome, after bartering a ride back to Dragonstone. Rhaenyra was given to Aegon II, who then fed her to his dragon Sunfire on Dragonstone. A year prior to Aegon's passing and the actual conclusion of the war, this occurs in 130 AC. The woman who asked Rhaenyra if she wanted to watch her death before being cut off by a statue of a dragon spitting fire in House of the Dragon Episode 4 cleverly foreshadowed this death. As with any civil war, the Dance of Dragons offers a few happy endings for many of its participants, which regrettably includes Rhaenyra Targaryen, the primary character of House of the Dragon.